Hey, welcome back to Passports, Profits, and Pixie Dust. I'm Lindsay Dollinger, travel agency owner of At Last I See the World Travel, marketing strategist for travel advisors, and basically you're just your go-to girl for turning your love of travel into actual income. Today, we're talking about something that honestly does not get enough attention in the entrepreneurship world, or I feel like it gets so much attention that you kind of turn off to it because if you're like, I'm not a woo-woo person, or my mindset's already fine, or maybe you're not even sure how to work on your mindset even more. It can be really, really difficult. And this was actually me for a really long time. Like I was like, I'm reading the books, I'm listening to a positive podcasts and surrounding myself with good people, and all those things are important. But today we're just really going to dive into mindset, mental health a little bit, but more mindset. And I just want to remind you that I'm not a mental health expert. I'm not licensed or anything to be really talking about this. I'm just speaking from experience and sharing things that have worked for me and my clients. And yeah, just legally we'll point that out. And I think what's it called? Therapy is really smart. I think getting professional help is really smart. So also want to preface it by saying that. So friends, gosh, we're past mid-March, right? We're getting into spring break week. We're getting into, like, if you're in the northern part of the United States, we're getting into some nicer weather. It can be, I know for me, a huge mood shift in general that we're just starting to see sunlight again and we're starting to go outside. However, also, if you know me, going outside right now means my allergies are going to kill me. So if you notice my voice a little raspy, I didn't even have a voice last week. So we're happy with the raspy voice today. But just in general, I feel like I'm more in a good mood, more positive when we get some sunshine, when I'm able to move my body and be outside a little bit more. So yeah, so that's just kind of that. Let's see what other things. I'm getting ready to go on spring break. We're going to New Orleans, and then we are boarding, which will be my first time at the New Orleans cruise terminal. We're boarding a cruise. It's a short one, 5 nights. Carnival. We're going to be on the Carnival Valor, and we're going to be going to 2 stops in Mexico. One is Cozumel, which I've been to before. The other one will be new to me. It's Progreso, and we are doing an excursion to Chichen Itza, which I am so excited about. Chichen Itza, if you do not know, is one of the, what's it called? One of the ancient or the modern world wonders. There we go. Wonders of the modern world. And it's, I think it's Aztec. I could be wrong. It might be Mayan. I should know this, but it's an indigenous ruins. So I'm pretty excited to do that with my family and to get away a little bit, get back out there, get traveling, because we know when we're traveling too, and we get, all this awesome content, you're way more likely to be getting those people signing into DMs to help you book their trips. So I'm pretty pumped about that. Also, I've been getting travel agents started in my agency. That's been really, really fun. It's been fun sharing about what we're doing, kind of molding and building things as we go, learning things that I need to be a little bit more clear on as well when training. So I'm learning as I go, and I'm just really excited for the new people that have come in. We have some experienced agents, and we have some completely brand new agents too. So that's been really exciting. And the last thing that I've been up to is planning my first group river cruise, getting people enrolled on that, marketing that, learning about that more as I go as well. This is my first group cruise that I have done. I have done several group trips, whereas, like tours, both with adults and then obviously a lot of them with students as well, with my role as a Spanish teacher. But this is, a new experience. So I will be sharing all that. Let me know if you want to hear more about, how that's going, what I'm doing to do that as well, and to make that successful. Or if you just want more information about joining us, let me know that too, because I have some pretty awesome deals. AMA is having some really awesome deals on group river cruises for 2027, maybe some for 2026 as well, when you book them through the end of March. So there's all that. There's a little wrap up of all the things that have been going on in my life and in my business. So let's dive in, shall we? So let's be real. You can have the best marketing strategy and the most perfect niche and the most gorgeous website and amazing content. All those things I think are awesome and really important. But if your mindset isn't strong, or if you're constantly operating from stress and overwhelm, fear, or burnout, your business is going to feel way harder than it needs to. So today I want to dive into why your mindset matters more than the other strategies. Like, I want to say it's more like the foundation. It needs to be there for the other things to fall into place. Why mental health challenges, or not maybe why, because I feel like we all know why, but how we face some of these things as entrepreneurs quietly, how to protect your energy while growing a business, and a few practices that have helped me stay grounded as an entrepreneur. Because building a business should support your life. And if you've been around in this community or in this show for a while, you know I'm all about that. I don't think it's the other way around, and I don't think our business should destroy our peace. So, one thing I think that people don't talk about enough in entrepreneurship is that psychological roller coaster, right? So, you hear a lot of people talking about imposter syndrome and different things like that, but let's just talk about how we're feeling. One day you are probably thinking, man, I'm a genius. My business is amazing. Everything is working. Everyone's coming to me. I'm attracting ideal clients. And then the next day you could be like, why am I doing this? Let's burn everything to the ground. No one is booking. No one's signing up. I should just go back to my normal job. If you've ever felt that swing, congratulations, you're officially an entrepreneur, right? Because I feel like this happens, if not weekly, like very close to weekly. And especially, guys, remember too, the majority of us listening to this are women. Our hormones play a big part into this as well. So we're going to have different emotions and different feelings, different parts of the month. That's just how it is, right? So, building a business is going to force you to confront those things like your fear of rejection. Maybe it's a fear of success, a fear of failure, those imposter syndrome feelings, comparison, uncertainty, inconsistent income. And what does that mean? And, the money mindset things that you were telling yourselves, and the pressure of just being responsible for everything. Because I think that's a important piece that I wanted to make sure to explain to people as they were joining my travel agency, as agents, as advisors, is that this isn't just a role where we book trips, right? You are essentially a travel CEO. We are responsible for our own marketing, our own finances, like all of the pieces. And I don't think a lot of people really realize that, especially when they're first getting started or getting in the business. And our businesses are deeply personal. When someone doesn't book with you, when someone ghosts you after a consultation, gosh, it happens so much for us, right? When someone says they found a cheaper deal online, it can feel like they're rejecting you, not just the service. And that's where the mindset piece becomes everything, because your ability to keep going, even when things feel uncertain, is what separates people who build successful businesses from people who quit. So let's talk honestly for entrepreneurship can be lonely, can be really, really lonely, especially if you're working from home, especially if your friends and family don't fully understand what you're doing, especially if you have a spouse who doesn't understand what you're doing. I am not married. I don't have this, but I have heard this from so many of my friends, so many of my clients. This can really be a thing that can honestly sabotage your business very strongly, especially if you're the only one responsible for making the money happen. That stress and that pressure. These are just a few of the mental health challenges that I see entrepreneurs facing constantly. So let's dive into what some of these are. One is comparison. Social media can make it look like everyone is winning all the time. And it's just not true, right? We see the 6-figure launches and the booked out calendars and the luxury travel and the huge teams, but we are seeing the highlight reel. I want you to remember that. When you see something that's triggering you because of this comparison piece, remind yourself it's the highlight reel. You're not seeing the late nights. You're not seeing the failed launches. You're not seeing the client issues. You're not seeing the slow months. And heck, we don't even know what these people are saying is true, right? A lot of times when people are talking about these launches and, or I guess launches, maybe not so much for travel, but when you're talking about sales, for example, remember that's not necessarily profit. And this is something that really irked me a lot with when I was coaching and more in like the overall general business space, and was around a lot of those people. And heck, even some of my own coaches in the past would talk about these launches and would never share actually what they were profiting. And the profit was minimal, if that. So comparison can be one of the fastest ways to destroy your confidence. We have to remind ourselves not to let it, right? The next thing is perfectionism. Entrepreneurs often believe things have to be perfect before we put them out there. The perfect website, the perfect social media post, the perfect reel, getting on camera, having to look a certain way, perfect content. I struggle with this as well. I tell myself a lot like, oh, I should be on video more. I should be doing all these things. And then I tell myself like, my makeup doesn't look right. I've gained a few pounds. I don't want to put myself out there. Perfectionism is usually just fear of wearing a fancy outfit. Progress builds business. Perfection builds procrastination. So we have to remind ourselves that if we don't want to be procrastinating, if we want to be going after our goals and our dreams, we got to put ourselves out there, right? No more procrastinating, no more waiting till things are perfect to launch the business. Next one's burnout. Okay. When you love your business, it is easy to work all the time. I know I am very bad about this, but I also know that I'm getting a lot better about this and setting those boundaries. Like when you're getting all these quote requests coming in, it can be really easy to work beyond your normal hours. Or when you're getting an email from a client, even though it's not an emergency and they're not currently traveling, it can be really easy to break your own boundary of not checking your email at 8 o'clock and responding to it. One thing that I have done that has helped me kind of transition this, especially for clients who don't respect my boundaries like that, is I will go ahead and write the response if I want to, and I will click to schedule it for the second it is 8 a.m. in the morning. And that has really helped to, kind of show them like, okay, she means what she's saying, because if people aren't traveling currently, we don't need to be replying to them immediately. So answering those messages late at night, fixing the travel problems that aren't actually emergencies, constantly checking your email, those things that we get to be more boundaried about so that we don't burn out. Because if you don't protect your energy, you will burn out. And burnout doesn't just hurt your business, it affects your joy, it affects your mood, it affects the people around you. So it's going to then affect your personal life. And we don't want that to happen. So what actually helps? You're like, okay, all right, I get it, Lindsay. All these things are bad. What are some things that have actually helped? So one thing is being intentional about separating business results from your personal worth, because your business results do not define who you are as a person. I mean, I don't know about you, but I consider myself a really good person, right? I do my best for people. I give more than I take, or I try to. Your business results, again, do not define you as a person. A slow sales week doesn't mean you're failing. A launch of that group trip that you were doing that flopped doesn't mean you're not talented, doesn't mean that people don't like you. A client saying no doesn't mean you're not valuable. A client ghosting you doesn't mean you're not valuable. It simply means you're learning, you're adjusting. Every successful entrepreneur you admire has failed dozens, hundreds of times. They just keep going, right? They just keep going. Blinders on, we keep going, we learn from it, we adjust. Let's go, right? It has nothing to do with me personally. My soul that is inside this body has nothing to do with my success. All right, creating boundaries around work. We already talked about this a little bit. But one of the biggest things that I want to encourage you as a high achieving woman listening to this is you need boundaries. So let's set some office hours. Let's not answer those messages at midnight. Let's protect your weekend time. Now, I do work on the weekends, especially because I still have a full-time job. So, on a Saturday and a Sunday morning, and then usually again in the afternoon on a Sunday, I have some time where I work. So it looks different every week. Sometimes I have more time to put into it. Sometimes I have less time. But I do work. So, make this work for you. But this doesn't mean that when you are, enjoying lunch with your family on a Saturday that you have to be responding to some stuff, because you don't. Scheduling some real time off. So I mentioned that I'm going to be gone for a week. I am actually not going to be working then. So I'm going to have all my emails set up, my vacation reminders off. I have no clients traveling that week, which is crazy. I know. I also have, I'm pretty sure I don't have any actual like due dates of payments that week. The ones that I did have, I scheduled out so that I told people that they were due the week before. So I'm actually going to be taking the time off. So I'm setting up now, recording these podcasts ahead of time. I'm batching my emails out ahead of time. I'm batching my social content out ahead of time. So my business is still running, and I am scheduling some time off to be with my family. Your business will still grow if you take breaks. And in fact, it will grow better, because rested entrepreneurs make better decisions. Something else along these lines with those boundaries that I want to mention, it's time to outsource and delegate. Find a VA. I have an amazing VA in the Philippines who has been working for me since the beginning of January. It's taken a little bit of training, but she's doing all the things that I need her to do scheduling wise. I have her scheduling things and doing some stuff on Pinterest with me. What else do I really have her doing? I have her managing some of my Facebook posts. Mostly it's scheduling posts for me, both in my business, but also my nonprofit, because it is allowing my nonprofit to run in the background so that I'm not having to spend time making those social media posts that I don't actually have to be the one doing, right? And in fact, I did actually use AI to help me create them. And then I just passed them along to her to schedule them. So if you want to still keep your thumbprint on it and have a little bit of control of those things, there are ways to do it. You just have to think creatively, and again, strategically on how to make that happen. The other thing with that, what was I going to say? Was the other thing with that? Batching, planning in advance, the VA. If you're not ready for a VA, just think about the tools that you could use to save you time. So I have spoken in here before. I used to use TravelJoy. Now I'm using Turn. It saves me a lot of time because I put in the time to set up the workflows, to set up the emails, to make copies of things, to like the same thing with my travel agency as well. I've made time to batch out trainings for them and automate some of that stuff so that, again, it saves me time. So what are some tools and resources that you can use and add in your business that'll save you time? Maybe if you don't have time to be creating those emails, maybe you're buying them. Like I sell on my Etsy shop some travel engagement posts. You don't have time to create those on Canva like I did. Buy them, right? I think they're like, I don't know, like 19 bucks. 19 bucks for 100 posts. That's going to save you some time and effort, get you engagement, and you can just quickly schedule it out. Like that's 100% worth it, right? I'll actually link those in the show notes for you if you want to check them out. But what are some investments that we can make to get back your time and your sanity and your energy? That's what I want you to think about. Next is just taking care of your body. Your mental health and your physical health are deeply connected. Sleep matters. Last week, I wasn't sleeping very well. This week, sleeping well, total change in my disposition, total change in my energy. So how can we prioritize that sleep? We can get off our phone earlier. Maybe you're going to take some melatonin. I don't personally take melatonin. I take magnesium before I go to bed. If whatever those things work for you, I have been starting to read like a fun novel before I go to bed, instead of scrolling. And I also know, speaking of instead of scrolling, with everything going on in the world, sometimes I just have to not read the news, right? Sometimes I like to be informed, and I know myself, if I'm already in a foul mood, I'm not going to get on and see what kind of craziness is going on in the world today. I can save that for tomorrow, right? So know what you need to do, what boundaries you need to set to keep yourself in the highest vibration. Movement matters. This is another thing now that I'm feeling a little bit better. I feel like every time I feel better and I get in a good workout routine, then I get sick again. But movement matters. Move your body, take a walk, whether it has to be on a treadmill because you have bad allergies like me, or whether you can get outside and take a nice walk at lunch to clear your head, especially if you've been working at home. I started doing reformer Pilates again, and I've really been enjoying that. It's my me time. I feel super strong. It kicks my butt and it helps me have better posture. So there we go. Win-win all around, right? So like I said, getting outside matters. Travel matters too. Plan a trip. This is one of the reasons you're a travel advisor. This is one of the reasons I love this industry so much. We get to travel. We get to see the world. We get to have a trip on our calendar so we have something to look forward to. Exploring the world reminds us why we're building this business of freedom in the first place. So take care of all those things, right? And the last thing I want to encourage you in this area is to have community. Entrepreneurship was never meant to be done alone. So this is why communities, masterminds, being in the right travel agency, networking groups, all these things can be so powerful. When you surround yourself with people who understand what you're building and why you're building it, and they get you, and you can use acronyms and you can talk about social media algorithms and all those sorts of things, everything becomes easier, right? You're not like solo, you're not alone and isolated anymore. Those people can encourage you when things feel hard. They can celebrate with you when things go well. They can answer your questions and give you feedback. And sometimes they can just remind you, you're doing better than you think. So find those communities, and you might be surprised where you find those communities, but you're not going to find them if you don't try. And then one of the most powerful mindset shifts you can make is remembering why you started this business in the first place and what will happen if you don't actually put your all into it. So I know you've probably heard remember your why. And then there's that Simon Sinek book, Start With Why. Those books are great. But for many entrepreneurs I talk to, it's things like remembering your freedom and your flexibility and that financial independence that you're building. It's creating experiences for others. It's traveling more. It's building something more meaningful. When the day-to-day tasks feel overwhelming, reconnecting with that bigger vision can be incredibly grounding because you're not just posting content then. You're not just planning trips then. You're not just running a business. You're building a life that most people only dream about. Most people do not have the nerve and the drive and the motivation to be doing what you're doing. Remember that. You are already in the top 1% because you're at least trying to go after these things that you want to do. A lot of people are scared to do that. So I give you kudos for that, friend. High five. I'm giving you a high five through your AirPods today. So if you take one thing from this episode, let it be this. Your mindset is one of the most important assets in your business. Protect your mental health, give yourself grace, take breaks, celebrate progress, and remember that entrepreneurship is not about being perfect. It's about continuing to grow and learn and show up even when things feel uncertain. And if this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with another entrepreneur or travel advisor who might need this reminder today. And send me a message. Let me know. What are you going to do today to shift your mindset? And if you're not already, make sure you follow and subscribe to Passports, Profits, and Pixie Dust so that you never miss an episode. And until next time, keep chasing your dreams, exploring the world, and adding a little pixie dust to your business and your life wherever you go. Go out there and create and own your magic. Bye-bye.